All right. Well, there's no
All
better
right.
way to start than to just freaking jump in. So we're doing a HMG episode today. It's a bit of a community cast here. I've grabbed some of the players in Perth that particularly play on the Axis side, and we've got a range of players here. We've got some casuals. That's probably me. Luke and Mike and Sean are all vets of the tournament scene and pretty much go to every single event here that we have in Perth. So just do a little intro so people can put some faces and names and voices and all that kind of stuff. So to my stage right is Luke. On my screen, it might look different
Hello,
on
hello.
yours. And just below me is Mike. Say hello.
G'day.
And then stage bottom right, we have Sean with the Star Wars Ewok wicket as his little emoji today because he ain't got a working camera.
Yeah, okay. It's Sean here. How you going?
Perfect. So, if you don't know, we talk all about the bolt action, which is my favorite game out there. And yeah, today we're talking everything Axis for the game. There's been probably a public perception online on social media and all that kind of stuff that allies are slightly advantaged in the list building options in comparison to some of the nations on the Axis. I think that's probably an incorrect perception. I'm not the best person to judge on this. I particularly play exclusively Germans, which at times is not always seen as the most competitive. If you've watched our show before, we've had Jackson on before, and he's a heavy advocate for the Hungarians, which have some really, really cool options for Axis. But we've got some different perspectives here because, Luke, you've played more than just Germans, right?
Yes, yeah, quite a few around them, a few minors, a few Germans, and quite a few different flavors of German inside of the Axis. Yeah.
And what's your experience, Mike?
I've started playing Germans, and I've just picked up some French to play Vichy or Allied in the last year, and I've just started a small British force. So,
And what about you, Sean? Axis or allies? Just tell us what your kind of exposure is to Bolt.
I'm only recently playing Axis because I've been asked by a few tournament organisers in the last year, 18 months to try and even out the numbers. I'm originally a US Ranger player and Soviet Naval Brigade, but now I've got two types of Germans.
Fantastic. So I would say at this point in time where we are in the Perth scene, I think Axis versus Allies is a bit more fair in the amount of players that are playing on either side and probably within the player skill ceiling as well. Whereas if you were to ask me that question last year, it would be, 60, 70 swing towards Allies kind of thing. I think it's evened out a lot over time. There are some perceived better things about, say, armies of Great Britain. There are some great options for various allied nations out there. So we want to put a little bit of a showcase on the baddies and show you what we at least do. We're not absolute experts on this. I mean, I'm surrounded by people who have had success at events. And they're going to share kind of the list that they've gone through, and it's kind of a mixture of things that are competitive, things that are thematic, things that are casual, where you should kind of start, and then we'll just kind of go from there, talk about our successes, and we'll also go through what we think that could improve your list. So if you're new to Axis, then this is probably the first place to kind of check. In relation to a wide variety of lists. Secondly, if you think you've got stuff that's just competitively better, then that stuff needs to be thrown in the comments so we can go for a round two. And yeah, we've got lists from all of ourselves on the cast, and then we've got people that couldn't make it today that have also submitted some stuff that would be interesting to go through. So what I'll do, I'm going to do a little screen share. and we're going to start nice and basic with just me. And this is going to be the list that I took to Skulls. So Skulls was an event that we had in Perth about, I guess, 2 weeks ago now. 2-day event. A lot of us were there. I went for the second day. And I have been, for the most part, exclusively playing Germans for the better half of 4 to 5 years. Sometimes I play allies. But yeah, pretty much Germans. For a long time it was DAC. And now it's really just a late war generic reinforced platoon is where I'm like comfortable with. And this list will be interesting. It's kind of a combination of advice I've gotten over the years and all that. Unfortunately, in this event, we'll go through it in a sec, but the short of it is I did terribly. I got tabled twice. So I'm not exactly proud of this, but I guess I played some really, really strong opponents who played very well, and I'd been out of practice. So don't let that push you away saying that this is a trash list. There's some good options in there, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, let's just skim through it. Second LT with the leader, with the attached dude, 2-man AR squad, very good. Sometimes I chuck in a third. I don't really care about the small team rule. Having 6 shots for that amount of points is usually pretty cool. I've opted for the Feldjäger Corps squad, which is effectively a late war veteran squad with a special rule that allows them to push around shirkers. Then I've opted for an 8-man AR squad with the Faust. So pretty much the same as the Jaeger Corps, just doesn't have the special rule. Then I've opted for 2 10-man teams of shirkers at 40 points per squad. And these will effectively stay within 6 inches of Feldjäger, so they lose the shirker rule each turn. That's basically how that plays. Stern Pioneers, because they're the better pioneers for Germany, because they have access to some of the other late war weapons, in particular Faust. As a regular pioneer squad doesn't have Faust. That's pretty much the difference. I like playing around with the Battle for France LMG, 20 points, 3 dudes. Love to chuck it at inexperience. That's all fine. Medium mortar, I play them inexperienced only. I don't take spotters. That's how I roll. I went for an 88 because I wanted some kind of vehicle killing in this list. And in this particular event, you could do generic reinforced or you could go with tank platoons. So I expected to run into some vehicles. So I wanted a heavy hitter. And yeah, my kind of thought process on including an 88 is like the 7 wounds is pretty cool as against a tank that could just get 1 shot and all that kind of stuff. And then for this may be a theme, and we might talk about this later with Sean and whatever else. But to balance out Germans, I try to throw in light autos. So right here, I've got the 222. 222 is probably not the best slot for the armored car. There's the other variant that's fully enclosed that's slightly more expensive. Actually, I think it's 5 points cheaper. I just don't have the model at the moment. And then I've gone for drilling, 3 light autocannons, 145. This is kind of the sweet spot with the tank for light autocannon selectors. Once you go in the verbal wind, it gets pretty expensive. You go under this, it's pretty much like an armored car. So I like the drilling. It's done some work. And then heavy field car, cheaper than a truck. Go for this for your pyro squads. Go for transports that are at the capacity of what they're actually transporting. That's how I roll. So yeah, that's it. And this kind of list is not all that much different to what I've been playing throughout the years. The only wacky thing that I've done here, and I've done it at what is now perceived as illegal, is the Feldjäger stuff. They are in Road to Berlin. Doesn't have any kind of notification in there that they can be used in a generic platoon. They're in another rule book that says they can, but they don't have the chain dog rules. Same name, different thing, just a little mix up with Easy Army. So you could play this list in other formats, but strictly generic. Yeah, you're breaking it here with Feldjäger to do the replacement army shirker nonsense. At Skulls, I think I played really well at my first game. But my second game, where this kind of also falls apart, is these very large squads are dependent of being within 6 inches of this to negate the shirker rule. It's just a multi-launcher target. And yeah, that's where I really went with some problems. But look, some of these ideas I picked up from Mike. Some of these ideas I picked up from Jackson. Some of these ideas I picked up from Boom on YouTube, and kind of pushed them all together. So there are some things in here that I'm really comfortable with. There's also some things I think that need some work. But yeah, let's throw it to you guys. Like, there's a few things that we can packed into here. I might just throw it to Mike. Just what comes to mind.
I was actually thinking there, because theaters were allowed at this event. One, I believe, called Forlorn Hope in Road to Berlin. Feldjägers are legal. You can take an 88. I don't know about the 222. You might have to take the 234, the Panzer II turret, the Lush turret. It's a good list. Okay, I love the Feldjäger core rule with the shirkers. I guess what I was hinting at with the Forlorn Hope one list was you can take the Straff battalion, can be regular shirkers. They still get the 3-point discount, but if you're taking the Feldjägers with them, it's they're like 70 points for regular dudes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I like the 88. I love the kit and the drilling or the triple barrel.
It does some work.
And the bottom, that thing is killer.
Yeah.
And medium mortar is the exact same. The experience, I think it's pretty good overall.
Yeah. This is probably the first time I've ran a German list in a long time without a Nebel. So typically I'm throwing in a Shrek team and a Kubel to do my AT, just because my AT will be swallowed up with a Nebel. And I tend to not take German vehicles that do armor damage. I want to get more light autos in there. So that's also a shake-up that I want to know. So like, guys, just interject, go overboard. Let's have a chat.
In terms of light autos, I've gone away from light autos for my, I suppose, anti-armor or anti-infantry. I'm a massive fan of the Kubel Blitz now.
Yeah.
So it's just the increase in range and has a flow-on effect that your penetration doesn't drop so quickly at range. And the fact that it's increased to +3, so double barrel heavy auto cannon, and the fact that it's a closed top medium tank. That's my go-to in terms of my tank. That's pretty much the only tank I'll take in any list that I field.
And interesting, I think it's like 205 points. So it's like it goes just shy of like the regular medium tank, which P4 you're looking at like 235. So yeah, I think that's baller to go with the Kerbal. It's I mean the only wacky thing is like when you run into, I guess, historical players, is that there are 3 of them.
There are. Having said that, I very rarely do play with it because of that particular factor. And we'll get onto the lists that I've got that we'll talk about today, and those are very much selector based, and they're not. I don't run generic.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's cover a couple of things that we have just list-wise generically that will make it faster for us to move through all of the other lists. Let's just talk infantry squads in general. So my preference for an infantry squad is quite specific. It's 8 men, it's vets, and it's a couple of ARs. So it can put out some firepower. I don't have to worry that it's going to melt. But look, everybody's got a range of perspectives on this. Inexperienced versus regs versus vets. What's your kind of like ideal squad? So let's start with you, Luke. What do you like to
For
field?
me, I I like what's thematic, honestly. Like with my Waffen SS, I've just got the historical SMG, LMG, 8 riflemen, 2 Panzerfaust. But for example, my last Levi or Battle of Budapest ones, I've gone. These are the models I have. Let's go like 2 assault rifles, 1 SMG, an LMG in there. They can be inexperienced. Over here, we can have like shirkers with rifles and then like an assault rifle. Make it like historical, funny hodgepodge type thing.
Mhm.
So that's what I like. But if it's just a regular army, like your 10 men standard line infantry type thing,
Yeah,
that's what I go
okay.
for.
Yeah, let's just go around the table. What about you, mate?
I actually ran. I'd like to run very, very similar loadouts to you actually. The Skulls list was almost identical in the loadout. It was 9 men for reasons we'll get to later.
Mhm.
Assault rifles and 2 Faust. So I love the extra range on the assault rifles. I find
Yep.
you just managed to catch other SMG toting assault squads. You can catch them out a little bit just by way to fire at 18 inches. It's amazing. Yeah.
And what about you, Sean?
Well, I've got a skulls list that we'll look at later, and I suppose my generic lists are the way that I play Germans. I'm restricted by the transports because I go full on mechanized. I don't have German foot sloggers anywhere in any of my lists, if I can help it. And my transport of choice is the tiny little 250/1s.
Yep.
So my squads are 5-man squads, 4 SMGs, 3 Panzerfausts.
Jesus. Oh, this is going to be exciting when we get to that, mate. Let us. Okay, so we've talked about kind of some ideal infantry squads, and maybe your opinion changes on this, Sean, based on like what you do with allies and whatever else. But okay, let's jump to leaders. Leaders, 1 dude, 2 dudes, 3. What do you like to do? And do we play around with the Waffen leaders in experience or not? Like, for me, the snap 2 isn't like ridiculously important. And I think like the benefit of the morale is just good enough at second. So I like to default at second, and I like to use it as like as a little fire base. So like ideally, I like 3 dudes with ARs.
Yeah. In a generic list, I generally run a second with 2 offsiders.
Yep.
And I'll have them in a 250/1, and they might be toting around the sniper team as well.
Yeah.
In terms of transport.
Yeah. Nice.
So there'll be a 3-man squad, and I'll generally throw in a 2-man squad into the little 250.
What about you, Luke? Any?
Usually just 1 or 2, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever ran a 3-man squad, and I played a scratch match against your list, and it was quite interesting. Yeah, 3 guys with just assault rifles running around is quite annoying when trying to protect a spotter or something.
Yeah, and it's that AR range as well. Oh, like they're just not as deadly with the SMGs. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to run the Waffen SS like inexperienced a lot more. But it's just so restricted by selectors. One thing for like my V3 wish list, yes, I'm mentioning V3. Inexperienced lieutenants just for Germans instead of forced regular veteran.
Yeah.
Not because I want to save the 15 points, but it's actually quite thematic. In a book I read of historiography, it was like, oh yeah, this unit's commander was killed, 7 days later replaced. Like 4 days later, they were missing in action. It's like the high turnover. I'm like, wow, wouldn't this be cool to have, like thematic wise?
Yeah. What about any of the other officer traits? I mean, I think Mike's got the most experience with chaplains and all kinds of other wacky stuff. So run us through that thing, man.
I kind of want to spoil the surprise. I've got a good one cooked up for some.
We'll save it. We'll save it. All right. We'll leave it there. Yeah. Okay. Air observers, RD observers. Do we use them for Germans or not so much?
No, I don't.
I don't think we can afford the
Neither.
points, to be honest.
No.
Across
I don't
the
think
board.
the Luftwaffe exists anymore.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm going to be the outlier.
Okay.
Say I actually really like the RD Observer. I mean, no,
Okay.
we can't afford the points, and it usually bites me in the ass. But
Yeah. Yeah. It is a good unit overall. Cool. Do you guys? Okay. Back to infantry and LMGs all in general. I mean, yes, LMGs overcosted, undercosted, blah blah blah. However you want to word it. I mean, obviously with Germans you get the +1 dice. You like to thematically throw in LMGs, Luke, and I guess Mike, you would have been using them quite a bit with the early DAC days because you get the free ones.
I took 2 at Skulls, sort of to. There were reasons just on like the rest of the list. So as a composition, that's when I choose to add them in. Or there's some cool new ones. You can take the Braiders, the Italian LMGs. Some of the tough gut units for like 15 points. You get a 5-point discount.
Yeah, nice.
Lose the extra dice. I think that's when I'd probably start looking at them a little bit more competitive context.
Yep. And Sean, I know we're not you got mechanized and all that.
Well,
Have you got an opinion on LMGs overall?
If we're talking about my 250/1 lists, I don't run LMGs at all in them.
Yep.
In my 17th SS recon that we'll look on later, there's an interesting thing that I actually want to ask you guys about where there's a 4-man squad and you could actually put 2 LMGs into it.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm down for that, man. But yeah, my default list is I can throw in 4 ARs for the price of an LMG. So that's what I do. Gives me the mobility and firepower and all that kind of stuff. Germans do like to throw in at least 1 Pio squad pretty much as a standard. Like I think it's needed. Flamers overall, do you guys play around with the fire or what?
I like to add them in. I usually take them as a 2-man team though.
Yep.
With a bit of an outlier in that. I'd stick them in a shrimp wagon and off they go.
Yep. Luke,
I was going to say I'll field. Sorry, I filled the Storm Pioneers in a generic list, but not in my mechanized ones.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of fitting them where I can.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, it used to be a necessity. Like every list I ever had, like a flamethrower team in itself, or an engineer 8-man squad, few SMGs, and that. Now, not really anymore. Like odd flamer team here and there, maybe a like 5 or 6-man engineer squad if it's thematic, but other than that, not really, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then what do we think? Mortar's essential across the board.
Yeah. I throw in mortar. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you guys feel on how I do it? Inexperienced 35, no spotter. Is that where we want to be? Yeah. I think it's nice for points. And then if you're not doing that, then you're spending 60 with the spotter.
You'll see something different later on with my list, but we'll talk about that then.
Perfect. And yeah, okay. Arty slots. Nebel versus Pack versus 88. Is there anything else in between? I mean, there's a lot of light autocannon stuff, and some of it's actually well priced as well.
For me, I like the Howling Cow, Nebel, or a medium Arty. I think the best return on. I'm around a bit. I'll chuck in the 2-centimeter flak. It's 50 points, dirt cheap. As competitive as the other options, but yeah, it's good fun.
Yep. And what about you, Luke? Are you throwing in an Arty pretty much every game, or?
Yeah, I used to. Like when I first started out with my competitive list, we'll see later on. It's just give me like templates. Just give me a Howling Cow, give me a multiple launcher rocket, and that Now, not so much, but if you do want to be competitive or they're on the side of that, definitely Howling Cow, Neville, I'd say, or Meaty Marty would be my picks.
Armored cars overall, do we like to include them or not? And then you can go very cheap. You can go to motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. You go to like the middle pack where you're looking at like 222s and stuff, and then you can get like almost like a Puma for the most part on the heavy end.
My preference for armored car is a 250/9, the half track with the light auto cannon that's enclosed now.
Yep, it is the option, right?
It's not an option. It's actually been errated as enclosed, so you don't actually pay any extra points for it.
No, I mean that is the ideal option for car slot. Yeah.
So and it fits nicely with the fact that it looks just like all the other little half tracks that I have running around the board.
Yeah, so no one can tell the difference between the two. What about you boys? Do you float with armored cars? What do we do? Like to throw them in or not?
Yeah, classic 222. Can't go wrong with it, I'd say.
Yep.
If you want to go like plus 5 points, I think it is the 234 with the enclosed top.
Yeah.
So you just get close to the enemy without just dying.
Yeah. The eight rad's pretty cool. Physically like twice the size. That's the only quirky thing. So 222 is pretty like nice and cute and can hide within terrain quite well. What about you, mate? Saw you using a bike the other day.
You know me. I like to keep it really cheap for armored cars. I usually go the MMG motorcycle.
Yeah.
Super, super annoying. I think I've been fiddling with taking a pull with a 2 centimeter on the back.
Yeah.
But that's in the tank stock, but we'll come back to that. That's a contender for a bargain basement sort of deal. But get my slots confused.
So all right, tanks. It's interesting. We've got some different opinions here. We have the Mouse King to my right. He's been fielding some heavy tanks for a while. So run us down that path of freaking madness, mate.
All right. Now, if there's one thing that scares people, it's a big tank. Now, the problem with a heavy tank is that you get pinned in our 4+ regular. You take it veteran, and then you take it veteran and shove it down someone's throat with their list. 90% of the time they panic. 10% of the time they realize, I can just run around it, and then you just look at your big thing and go, what's the movie? Like just down the line, boom, boom, boom. But it's just funny, and especially if the mouse just the transmission snapping first turn that happened to me once, and then just immobilize the rest of the game.
There are some interesting options because there's a lot of the I don't know if this is exclusive to Germans or some Axis or whatever else, but there's the limited fuel rule, which allows you to take some of these heavy tanks at a pretty significant discount. And you couple that with potentially playing a mission that you deploy well or far, and then a first turn of movement, breakdown, yes or no, whatever. You've got a Tiger mid-board that can range on anything. Not a bad option. Anyway, heavy tanks, just very quick, Luke. What do you like to say? Obviously, you took the mouse and all that kind of stuff, but like, I think you've been playing with a few different ones, or at least in the right group of people who do.
Yeah. The Mouse and King Tiger are the two that I've taken. Love both of them. The Mouse, even though it's incredibly funny, the King Tiger's just better. Like, sure, you get the Mobile Fortress rules, which is side penetration doesn't matter, but the King Tiger can actually get something done without having its transmission snap.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I haven't tried anything else because I started too high. I wanted to keep going up, and I started at King Tiger, so then went to Mouse, and then there's nowhere left to go. Well, I want the Rat. That's my campaign. Vote Rat 2024.
Beautiful.
But I'd like to try out the Sturm Tiger. Is one the big box that just throws the heavy howitzer rocket.
It's quite expensive. Like, I own one, and I just find that it's too hard to fit into a list. But what I tend to sometimes
heavy tank better. Just throw it in
Yeah.
and deal with it later.
I
You
tend,
could feel it.
I tend to proxy it
I was
as a
gonna say-
Brumba for the most part.
Yeah.
It's the Brummy.
Yeah.
Historically, Germans captured a KV2, and
yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
they painted it up and used it as a artillery observing tank
Right.
because the thing's like 13 meters high.
Makes
So
sense.
Smart, yeah.
paint up a KV2.
Ooh, could do. If you partakes in any heavy tanks, Mike.
No, I'm actually going to go the other way. The heaviest I'll go is the P4.
Yeah. Yeah.
To dip my toes into the secret hidden rule of the Germans with the Tiger Fear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I rapidly go towards Armor 8 and Armor 6 for my tank slot. So
Yep. That's fair. All right. Should we move on to some other lists and go from there? Like, the last slot we forgot about is transports. Obviously, Sean's got a lot to say on that. Do we bring that up now, or we save that for your list for later?
You can talk about it later.
Yeah. Okay.
You got my list. You got to talk about in the context of the list because it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Yeah, fantastic. So aside from all the quirky stuff that you do with transports, you boys on transports for Germans, is it just taking it to a vehicle that's the capacity of what you want to transport, or do you muck around with some other stuff? Do you even use them?
where do I begin?
Okay. What does that mean, mate?
No, we'll save that. We'll save that.
All right, cool. Okay, we've gone over generic Germany for the most part. We do have a list on generic Axis overall. We do have a video on armies of Germany, so that there is some, like, we go line by line of all of the various options and whatever else. But we're gonna start with one of Luke's lists. So you're gonna need to intro us in, Luke, and tell me what's what, and I'll try and scroll down to match your voice and tone. What are we doing here?
All right, so we are looking at the Sea Lion Brandenburger Infiltrator Commandos. Absolute insanity. So first off, you have Brandenburger First Lieutenant. Everything has to be veteran in the list. You can't take it anything else. Yes, disguised. We'll get back to that in a minute.
Well, first off, 100 points on this dude. All right, yeah.
You pay a massive premium for disguised.
Perfect.
Then we've got a few squads of Spartruppen. Brandenburgers, they're 8 men. You can't go up to 10 men. You can just go up to 8. Everyone has an SMG. SMGs are also 4 points a list. Yeah, it's 16 points for a rifleman plus 4, 20 points each.
Oh.
And then everyone has an anti-tank grenade in case you come up against a tank. So that's another 16 on each squad.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then
his agent.
Yep. So we enlisted him. He's just one guy, a veteran. He has a pistol, an anti-tank grenade if need be, and a light Hofstellungswaffen.
What is that?
Basically, if you do a fire order next to a building or advance up to it, you can roll a dice on a fortification. It kills all the crew inside on a 3+. For a light, for a light one, it actually collapses any building on a 6+. So, 20 men in that building. This guy can walk up, plant one charge, and if you roll a 6, there goes 20 men.
Oh my god. Okay, so the German translation, according to Bing, Holden Waffen is hollow dung weapon. So I guess it's like hollowed out weapon or something like that. Anyway, weird.
Yeah.
Move on.
It's described as like a hollow charge. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That sounds about right.
Then we've got a few more of the 8-man squads, and then just to cut some points to meet a dice minimum. The last squad is 5 men instead of 8. They all have SMGs, all have anti-tank grenades still. And then the last one is a sabotage team, which is 2 men, 2 SMGs with a heavy version, with both, which which the heavy one kills crew of a fortification on a 3+ and demolishes the structure on a 5+.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. This sounds so
That's
fun.
C1, baby.
It,
It is. It very much so is.
and Sea Lion's an old book, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Let me check.
I think it was like a V1 one, so I kind of like dismissed it and have never looked into it.
It says first published in 2017.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Could be. Disguised.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to read this straight from the rulebook.
Do it.
Otherwise, it won't make any sense. Okay. The unit or team may be disguised as friendly forces or innocuous civilians, provided they are not using a stern boot. Enemy units cannot shoot or assault disguised models until they reveal themselves by opening fire or assaulting, after which they cease to be disguised and may be targeted as normal. If an enemy unit within 6 inches of a disguised unit, when it receives an order, it may open fire against it or assault it as normal. The disguised unit ceases to be disguised and then may be targeted as normal once it has been fired or assaulted on.
Okay, so board wide cannot be interacted with by an opponent unless they're within 6.
And that's when receiving an order within 6. So it's a 2-turn delay. If you run a squad into me, like within 6 of me, and that squad has already activated, you have to pray that you get the first dice next turn. Otherwise, they can skirt around you and still be undetected.
Very cool. Where did you pick this up? Like, where did you see this? You just started reading the book.
Yeah, I was like, Brandenburgers, disguised. Yeah, it's a monstrosity, I know.
I'm glad we started with this. Oh my god.
So how do you play this? Well, because you can't be shot or assaulted or anything, it's complete. You have complete onus on when you get to engage. And because everyone has an SMG, everyone is tough fighter. So the plan is pretty much to get up in their faces and do a 40 KS like alpha strike. So make sure you can punch through first and then keep going for assaulting and whatnot. Like for example, one game, and also because you can interact with objectives, if you want to be really evil because they haven't been assaulted or fired, you could nab a top secret objective and run away and be disguised and just be invulnerable.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, that is nasty. Oh, I didn't
but it's just evil. Yeah. Yeah, so...
And then, obviously just holding any kind of points, you can't be targeted from range.
Yeah, just ring around a rosy, yeah. So one of my favorite photos from the tournament is 2 nuns sitting across a road from a airborne sniper team in a ruin and a massive squad of British paratroopers that couldn't target them because they were just disguised sitting within advanced distance from the objective in the middle of the road.
Oh my gosh.
Just for 5 turns, watching and waiting, pretty much.
Was your entire army nuns?
No, unfortunately. There's only 2 nun models, but I need to find someone that can sculpt like nuns 3D printing, and then I'll print out just 40 nuns and just have a parade of them just walking around the center of like London or whatnot. Yeah.
Make sure you paint some stubble on them though.
Yeah, of course. And like a few like parachuter leggings and whatnot. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, Rami, you said, did you play the Skulls Day 1?
Yes, yeah.
And it was for your 3 rounds?
Yeah, I got one win, 1 draw, 1 loss. Yeah. First game was against Steve. He brought Black Death. That was a very interesting game because he did the one thing that I knew would make me lose. He boxed me in. Because the thing is, yes, I'm invincible to everything until I open fire or assault, but if I assault one unit and there's 2 other squads like standing right next to them, my 8-man squad just dies in like 3 seconds flat. He boxed me in and I drew it on kill points. because he had to feed me some units to then make sure the others could then like open fire on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by the end of it, I had one man left from the sabotage team that was like running off to not die as a kill point. 2 men of an 8-man squad left, my lieutenant, and a 6-man spar trooper squad that was just hiding so it didn't get shot to pieces the minute it like stepped forward. So yeah, by running towards me and boxing me in, I didn't anticipate that, and it worked really well.
That's some quick thinking.
Yeah, it was good. Second game was against Adam and his Polish paratroopers, sorry, which is then when the funny nun photo happened. But basically, I won that one on objectives because he couldn't shoot me. He had to come to me, and when he came to me, I then just sprung onto him. So he had one 8-man squad that was trundling around to the objective in my corner of the table, and so I just had one squad, the Abwehr agent and the lieutenant in waiting, just always took a step back when you get close, and then order dice down. They've moved in somewhere, then just boom, like move in, point blank, and then follow up with an assault type thing. And yeah, because they're veterans, the Spartan, they don't give in quite easily. So assaulting 8 tough fighters, because most of the time it'll be a surprise charge, because your opponent's like, oh, I can't shoot, I'll go down, or I'll advance over here. Surprise charge, 8 dice, roll first, tough fighter, follow up. You can usually wipe a squad, like quite reliably, surprisingly.
Wow.
And then yeah, third game I lost because against Sean, it was his Commonwealth infantry. That was an open map, so I tried to do the same thing of just
Different Sean.
standing. Yeah, different Sean. Sorry. Tries to do a similar thing that I did, just standing next to objectives but not going onto them. But I explained how anti-tank grenades worked, and he was like, oh, okay. And I just drove the tanks at me, killed one of the tanks, but then the squads just followed up and started massacring the spar troopers. Because when there's 2 artillery howitzers behind and it's an open field map, it does not go well when you're in a nun costume.
I'd also suspect that any kind of heavy order dice list, lots of inexperience. I'm just picturing Soviets. So this would be tough to deal with when you're dealing with more squads than you have, because you're basically, your special rule is going to get eaten up, and once the special rule has triggered, that's points that are now actually just deleted off the model.
It's a weird list. What I was thinking is you have to try to get 2 kills or 2 order dice for every one you lose type thing. Keep trading up. It's like, whack an inexperienced squad, reconsolidate, and then try to whack like a 5-man veteran squad. And then if they died, they've gone 2 for 1. That's fine. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But if it's 1 for 1 or 0 for 1, which happened in one assault, then you just cry in a corner and then just slowly start dying.
Have you ever seen anything this whack, Mike?
No, I mean, I take great offense that disguised Luke knows this.
What do you mean, perfectly balanced?
Yeah.
All things should be.
All right, Luke, we're going to move on to
sea line plans.
We'll move on to your next list as well. Let me just bring this up so we can have a looky. So run us through, buddy.
As the title, West Goes Pew Pew. This was me a few years ago, and then the insanity that last year list is I've changed. You got your second lieutenant, regular, 2 guys, 3 SS squads, 10 men. Historical loadout, 2 Panzerfaust, SMG, LMG, veterans. And then enough artillery to destroy a barn, pretty much, with a heavy mortar, Howling Cow, Wesp, and then just in case a veteran Panzerschreck to scare off any tanks from charging towards them, and a veteran snipe team just to whack teams.
So I don't know much about the Wesp.
It's really good, honestly. 145 points. You get 8+, medium howitzer. Just sit it at the back and either direct fire, indirect, and you're laughing. The list was pretty much let's see how many sixes and templates I can place, and I'll win through the infantry holding, like the mid-ground gunline style.
Yeah, because they're not going to drop either. Yeah, this is pretty solid.
It's a good list. It's solid, yeah.
Yeah. Any feedback, boys?
I would not want to be running across the table towards that.
Yeah.
With my Soviet naval brigade, I'd be taking significant casualties.
You say that, but it is quite a low dice cap for 1,000. You're doing what, 9 order dice? Yeah. So I mean, what the Soviet list is going to probably have at least 14.
The naval brigades, how I run them, I'll have 3 big squads of naval guys, and they just chew things up in close combat. Everything else is sort of to help them sort of get where they need to be.
Yep.
So yeah, 14 is normally what I'd get to. It wouldn't be a really silly high dice list for the Soviet, like you can get with Soviets. Yeah, different than what you'd normally see. But yeah, 14 might be able to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of veterans in here, and I'm like even like right now just looking at some of the infantry teams and not the actual squads, and those do a little bit of a shake in me, like, oh, that's quite a bit of points being spent on like 2 dudes and that kind of thing. Yeah, what how do you see this, Mike? Would you be tweaking it slightly?
Yes, this is sort of reminiscent, and I think this is like a sort of what the Perth meta looked like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas now I think, yeah, you trade a lot of you'd shave quite a lot here. I mean, 104 points for 2 guys with the 24 each single shutters there.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd see too many of those anymore.
What are you guys' thoughts on snipers overall? Auto include,
I think
nice to take.
Yeah, I think they fill a particular role in your army. They often are very swingy. You know, sometimes you'll have a sniper that does absolutely nothing for an entire game, and then sometimes you'll have a sniper who'll pick off the MMG who's giving you a hard time down one flank. He'll pick off the other sniper that's giving your teams a hard go, and it's very dependent. But if I can, I will always try and squeeze in a sniper.
I'm the exact opposite. I think that just a 1-shot dice, it's not really worth it for me. And the fact that like its only viable targets are infantry squads, like the teams, which would be mortar, sniper, anti-tank, that kind of thing, or a leader. And none of those particularly, aside from the mortar, team send shivers down my spine. It doesn't feel like it's going to be the big target, and they're not going to do anything against the heavy big commando squad or whatever the heck that you're fighting against. So I never take them, actually.
Has the G43 influenced you at all, Jacob?
Is that a different variant on the sniper for Germans? I know what a G43 rifle is, but I don't know. I don't know what the rule is.
Tough guts. Yeah, the tough guts sniper profile.
Oh, okay. Yes. This is why I don't know. I just don't take the slot at all. But this is just a weird quirk with me. But look, almost. I guess if we're talking earlier lists, the last couple of years, you pretty much see a sniper on every side, on every table. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's just the idea that we've had sniper wars for years, that it's just dropped to I don't take them. But what about you, Luke? Obviously, this is your
I've got no view as yeah. Well, this from a few years back, I was like, yeah, always a sniper, always snipe the other sniper, and then always hit the teams. But like lately, when I started list building, otherwise it's it's like I can spend 65 points for a veteran sniper here, or I could afford another 4 or 5 men in a squad, or a few more special weapons, a few bits and bobs here and there that just improve it. And sure, they might be sniped, but they also could. The enemy snipe could just roll like 6 ones the entire game, which either it's my personal experience of Murphy's Law, but it's happened to me too many times that I'm scarred, and I've seen it happen too many times that I'm scared.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't quite get, like, Mike, what's your opinion, snipers overall? And if you want to talk about the toughest guts ones as well, that's fine.
So I'm making a list for an event. I would read the pack, and it's usually for me dependent on what the secondaries are. So if they've got VPs for officer kills, or if there's like a meeting engagement where you need kill points or order dice, they're really good for that. That's when I'd probably consider them. So I like to keep them very list dependent, I think, for my sniper use.
Yeah, I mean, that is the correct HMG way if you had Dan or Gorshin on this show, but you don't. You got Jacob, you got the casual, but that's all right. Jackson snuck in on the call. So, hey, Jackson, how you doing, mate?
Hey, Jackson.
Yeah, I'm well. I just managed to get the chance to come in, and I thought I'll jump in while I've got the opportunity.
Yeah.
Come say hi and listen in.
Well, thinking of that, let's just dependent on time. Don't know how much time you got, Jackson. Let's actually just jump straight to your lists. Because if you've only got 15 minutes or whatever else, we can do that, and then we can get back to where
I've got stacks of time, so don't need to do that.
Right, cool. All right, then we'll power on ahead. So we've gone through my kind of generic list on Germans. We've gone through Luke's lists as well. So we got a funky Brandenburg list, and we've gone for his like generic list from a couple of years back. And overall, we've also talked about various options for slots. Particularly for Germans, we do mean Axis, but we've gone over our thoughts on ideal infantry squads, what you take in each kind of slot, all that kind of stuff. So now we're actually going to filter into Sean's lists. So if we have a look, this one's going to be the 17th SS. It might be a little bit tricky for you to see, Jackson, but I've got a secondary screen that's streaming the text. But yeah, let's go through it, Sean. Run us through.
Okay. I like getting the books and reading and digesting entire books. Mm-hmm. And I found this list in the back of the D-Day US sector book.
Yep.
And it's based on, and it's right up my alley. I like to play light infantry. I like to play recon. I like to play sneaky little buggers who do strange things that no one expects.
Mm.
And these guys, they have a special type of Schwimmwagen for their list.
Mm-hmm.
So they get this a rule called, if you scroll down, you can see it in one of the lists. Well-trained, I think it's called. Well-drilled.
Well-drilled. All right, so let's jump down to that.
Right, well-drilled is something that's unique to these guys and their Schwimmwagens. What it means is your little squad, when you give them a Schwimmwagen transport, you can give that Schwimmwagen an MMG, mm-hmm. and they'll still maintain their transport capability,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to the normal rule for Jeeps and stuff. And I was going to say, further to the point, the special Schwimmwagen that these guys get actually has an increased troop transport capability of having a 4-man in the Jeep.
Okay, very cool.
And the little squads that they get, the infantry that for this particular unit, they're mechanized recon. And don't ask me to pronounce the name or how they say it. They were the recon guys, and you can buy them in squads of 4.
Okay.
In fact, it specifies in the unit description that if you do buy a squad of 4, you must buy them a Schwimmwagen.
Perfect.
Right. So this list is actually a mechanized list, because if you have a look at the very top, it comes with a command vehicle and two Schwimmwagons that are the compulsory, essentially, troop choices or whatever. Right.
Yep.
So everything in this list has to be veteran.
Okay.
That's one of the requirements. So you end up with Schwimmwagons that are 46 points after you've put an MMG on them. They're veterans.
Yep.
And you have lots of little four-man squads, and you stick them in Schwimmwagons, and you get in as many as you can. And the idea behind this was, there's very few rules for the Germans that gives them some sort of advantage. I mean, we're not going to get a 300-point artillery observer, but we do get an extra dice on an MMG.
And you've gone all out.
When you've got 10 of them on Jeeps,
man, that's a lot of shots.
Lots of extra dice, right?
Okay, so you got 7 SS swims, and then you got 3 regular ones as well, which have MGs as well.
The 3 other ones that are the command Schwimmwagen, and the 2 guys that you have to buy for them right at the top.
Yeah,
and you can see they're veterans 46 points. Right, so they're just normal Schwimmwagons. The other ones are the ones that have got well drilled, which allows you to have 4 guys and an MMG team. And an MMG on the vehicle. Then it was a matter of me moving things around and balancing as much firepower as I could get into these little light vehicles, knowing full well that I'm going to be losing things all over the place, and I don't have any tanks.
Yep. So you've thrown in lots of squads with Fausts and a lot of Fausts.
I tried to balance it out as much as I could. So there's only 4 squads, I think.
Yep.
That are infantry, and you've got 2 squads that have got 3 Fausts, and you've got 2 squads that have got 2 Fausts, and I believe as many submachine guns as I can throw into the list.
That is nice.
And the nice thing is there's actually 2 medium mortars.
Yeah, and 2 expensive medium mortars.
Because they have to be veteran, right?
Yeah.
But they come with their spotter, and look, that's a 4-man squad that goes into a Schwimmwagen.
Very nice. Very nice. So
it's a weird list. And so far, I've only managed to collect 5 Schwimmwagons. I'm still waiting for the local game store to give me a supply. So this is not the list that I was going to take to Skulls, but this is the current list that I'm painting and putting together to see just how silly it would be.
What model are you using for the swim? Is it a Ruby? Is it a Warlord? What is it?
I've got a mixture. I've got a Rubies, I've got a Warlord, and I've also gotten a Waffen Die Waffen Hammer one.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's basically I'm trying to get them wherever I can find them, because normally there's one in the store and that's it.
Yeah.
Until somebody buys it.
So what's your as a swim connoisseur? Who has the best model out there?
At the moment, the new Warlord one is probably the easiest to put together. The Die Waffenhammer, it's an older type of a mold, so it's not too flash. I've also looked at like 3D printing ones, because there's some really nice 3D printing files that are out there at the moment. You can find some. I think Matt Shadowlord was going to print some off for me.
Nice.
So I'll get around to those. So I found some nice files, and we'll see what we can get. This one that I bought and was completely useless, but it comes down to, you just have to be patient and find them.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, they're intricate models. I think the Warlord ones would be old metals in a blister. Yeah, and I'm
going to have to, when I paint these guys up, I'm going to have to label the top 3 Schwimmwagons differently than all the other ones, because all the other ones are transports. So if they're empty, they'll get captured. But the top 3 ones aren't transports, so they can never get captured.
Yeah. Okay. So they're tanks.
They're essentially tanks.
Yeah. Very cool.
So I might have little flags or something on them.
I'm glad that
So this is
we've started with whack.
I'm sorry, Luke. This is the new meta. Get used to it.
I guess.
Hands down. All hail the Lord Sean.
No more heavy tanks.
How dare you?
One good arty strike and it falls apart.
Yeah. It's like such a
I'll fly some tanks down and smash them. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I have no illusions.
Yeah.
I think this is a massive glass cannon, and the way to play it is actually very similar to how I play my next list. Is I would keep things at long range as much as I can, and just use those 6 dice from every single little Schwimmwagen to mow as much of the infantry down as they come towards me.
Very quickly, Sean, before we move on to the list, have you been proxying, trying this out yet, or is it just still a dream because you're waiting for the models?
It's still a dream because I'm waiting for the models. I haven't proxied it because it's not something I normally would do.
Yeah.
I could borrow a whole bunch of US Jeeps from somebody, I suppose, but I haven't done that.
Yep.
But my next list is a veteran. I have played it quite a number of times, and it was going to go into skulls.
Well, let's move on to your recon list. So let me just bring this up. And yeah, I've witnessed this. I think even Mike's had seen it at the table at least once or twice. So Sean.
This is a it's not a generic one. This is a Panzer reinforced platoon. It comes from the Budapest book, I believe. And what was so nice about this particular one is the transports, just like I think the Soviets have a version of it, for an extra 10 points, you can give all of your transports, be they Schwimmwagens, the Kugelwagons, or the 250/1s, you can give them all reconnaissance. You can give them all recce. So this goes back to me originally playing Rangers, playing light infantry. I like to be sneaky little buggers that have a lot of movement, not necessarily a lot of firepower. So I just found this list and I went, that's it. Everyone is going to go into a transport that if someone shoots at me, I'm going to run away.
Yeah.
And this was the list that was going to go to Skulls, and I actually played it against a few people that went to Skulls in preparation for them to play. And I had a game against Rowan and his mechanized tank platoon that got put on the table, and I've looked at it, I'm gone, tanks. Why did it have to be tanks? Right? And then proceeded to have his IS-2, I think he had in one of his lists, not hit anything for the entire game because it's got this one big gun and it would go boom, and I'd go, oh no, I'm going to move away so you can't shoot me, or I'm going to move away into cover so it's harder for you to shoot me. And he missed for the entire game with this 600 point model.
Yeah.
It was silly, and it was like I ended up winning that game on objectives, and it was the one where you had to advance up the board and take the objectives in the middle and objectives in the far right and keep the ones that you had in your end.
Yeah.
And because everyone was in transports, we just rolled up the board, sticky objectives, and I just moved forward, taking the objectives.
All right, run through us the infantry squads. So what do we got here?
Right. The infantry squads they are tailored to be my way of up to transport capacity, and they're tailored to be my way of tackling armor if I need to. All right. And they will only get out of their transports if something needs to die with their Panzerfausts, or if the transport gets blown out from underneath them. All right. And the idea is they stay in their transports, like we stay at range, and whenever I'm pulling out a dice, and this is where reconnaissance becomes very important, I want to go last in the turn with guys, right, with my dice, because I don't want to reconnaissance until they've all shot at what they were going to,
Yeah.
So the idea is the guys inside the transports, if I pull a dice early, that's them going down.
Yeah, and you're forcing the opponent's hand at that point.
Yeah. One thing if you scroll right up to the top, I've got a. Okay, this is a different list. This is the second lieutenant. Another thing about this particular list is they have the officers, unlike in every other list, actually have the ability to do snap to orders while inside the vehicle.
Okay, that's very
important.
important.
If you scroll down, it'll have a rule at the bottom for them. Where is it?
Maybe not in this one.
Mechanized. No, that's not it. It doesn't say it. It doesn't say it on an army builder.
Yeah, let's not rely on army builder. Yeah. But anyway, we'll take your word
for
it.
So that allows the officer to, being a German, he gets to pull out an extra dice. So I'll pull my officer and I'll pull out 2 more dice because he's just a second lieutenant. And that can be the transport that he's in and the transport that's parked right next to him that's within 6 inches of his transport. Yeah, and you can order them to move forward up and then fire 12 shots with your transports.
Very cool. We got a couple of armored cars in here. You got 250/9s. We already had a chat about them. Slightly cheaper.
Yep.
Fully enclosed. Very nice for points.
I think they're fantastic.
And then tell us about your 250s.
Well, the 250s, I much prefer the 250s than the much larger one because the much larger one is so much harder to hide in terrain. The 250s are tiny, tiny little things. I mean, you're talking about how like the armored car, the 222 is small and easy to hide. Yep. These things are even smaller than the 222s.
Yeah, okay.
They're lower to the ground. They don't have the big high jacked up wheels. They literally are. You can hide them behind the smallest of cover, and because they're all got these, relatively long range machine guns, you like to stay back and just pepper away.
Yep.
I had a list. I think you might have been thinking about the last time I took reconnaissance. That was in just a normal mechanized list. It didn't have the ability to do all these recce's. And they were a bit different. They couldn't run away, but I had a lot more of them.
Yep.
And I had the Kugelblitz in the army then. That was a generic mechanized platoon, whereas this one is specific theatre from the Budapest book.
Yeah.
So everything's about trying to maximise my firepower and give me the ability to engage armour if I do come across it.
I am a fan. I wish I had this many armoured cars to play with and the transports.
This list isn't actually using all of my 250s that I have at home painted up because I think there was 2 more that I had in the previous tournament that had the Kugelblitz in it because I ran shirkers. I ran shirkers inside transports that never got out of the transports.
Yeah, right.
just to be able to buy them a transport.
And to also so the transports don't lose the capacity when they're close by and they're not getting assaulted and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
the massive weakness of this is that if you get assaulted, your 5-man squad is probably going to die, and as soon as that does, then the transport's died, which is why you need to keep things at arm's reach.
Similar, but also very different to the swims.
Yes,
this is interesting. Any thoughts, boys? Whack.
I really like it, honestly. I love this.
It's a list I've toyed with a couple of times. The issue is it requires a stupid amount of vehicles, so it's quite an expensive force to put together.
Yeah.
The trick with it is actually the armored car slots. if you nail those armored car slots and get the best bang for buck, I think in the list you've got like the 259,
/9.
Yeah.
which is the half tracked one, the 250 with the 222 turret. The other one I think worth looking at is the 8 rad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool list. Takes a fair bit of skill to get consistent good use out of it because it's easy to get caught out with it. Yeah, I've played a lot against the Russian version, which is the motorized recon detachment, because a mate runs those. And really, the hard counter to it is to just assault it. So that the skill in playing it, which I think Sean touched on slightly, was keeping it back, not letting your opponent clog it up, and then just peppering them with machine gun shots everywhere.
I played against Gorshin with this, and he was expecting me to run towards him in a tournament, and it threw him.
No, never do that with his list.
It threw him that I stayed back, and think that was actually one of the wins that I had in the first time I ran it was against Gorshin, because he just basically took his time coming towards me and allowed me to shoot him up far too much than I should have been able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I was going to ask, like, how, with the staying power of the squads, you mentioned, yeah, assault them, they just die. How do you deal with, like, objectives in that? Is it like pepper them and then rush in, like, towards the end, or?
Yeah. So the way this army plays is, I don't spread myself out a lot. So the firepower that I tend to bring to bear will annihilate any units that are near objectives that I'm trying to take. And I'll just try, towards the end, I'll try to contest objectives, because I'll often be able to floor it and get across to where I need to be. And because the guys are inside the transport, I'm contesting an objective with infantry.
Yep.
So yeah, it's all about overwhelming firepower in specific locations, which is how reconnaissance played. They were never, they were never sort of stand up
Frontline.
troops that would, they were never frontline. They would engage the enemy and then pinpoint where they were going to fight, and that's how I like to play it.
I mean, this
Yeah,
could
gotcha.
really punish a bad positioning and a bad deployment. And you could also feint others to deploy in a different way, and then just really easily move. And I'm guessing that plays to how you do ranges and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I think you can also take squads in trucks, so it's not like you can't get big squads of infantry in that platoon either.
No, you can't.
Like, if someone wanted to modify it, obviously you're then opening yourself up to having a weak, squishy, obvious target in the list. But yeah. So rather than just having everything with recce.
This one from Budapest is a lot more flexible in what you take. I've just gone the extreme version of it. Yeah, you're right. You can take trucks. There's even tanks and proper heavy vehicles that you can take, armored vehicles to take in the army. But this is all about having as much, like every single vehicle in that list is reconnaissance. Someone shoots at me, I'm going to duck out of the way. And then they pick on another unit or try to shoot something else and engage, I'll duck away.
All right. Have we still got Mike on the call, or are you on break? Simple yes or no is good, because
I'm still about.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Should we move on to some of your lists, mate?
Yeah, sure thing.
Alrighty. So let me just full screen that. We're looking at the generic platoon for 1248, 12 order dice. If you want to intro us in, what's your like?
Right. So, I actually dug up. This is the first list I ever made. To take to an event. I think this is games 3 and 4 of bolt action for me. And basically, I bought this one to show the new players the barrier to entry for bolt action can be.
Yep.
It's a 1250 event. It was basically here starter army. I think I added a opal truck.
Yep.
was pretty much all I had to pick up. I think the mortar team as well. You got to pick up. And you can see in that one, I've just got the second, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So, okay, this is a very reminiscent of what the meta kind of looked like probably 2 years ago. Again, similar to Luke's one, you notice a lot of few veteran units with Gs, and they're all armed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes in the list as well. So I've got 2 squads of 8 MG, LMG. So that's a loadout I like to run still. Like SMG lets you sort of skirmish. It's poses enough of a threat when enemies get close, but the LMG lets you kind of pin at range.
Yep.
I probably wouldn't run squads that aggressive. The 6 SMGs and a fast.
Yep.
LMGs, people have opinions on them. I actually kind of like the LMG teams that are available now. They're like the mobile machine gun teams in the machine gun slot.
Yeah, I'm
Or added in the La France. They're pretty good. The old school medium mortar with a spotter, just so you can have sight. I think that's still a valid pick. It's either medium with a spotter or experience for me. Sniper team, never a bad pick. 40. I still really like the Pack 40. I have to bring it every now and again. It's really good area denial. Good for attracting R's and indirect fire. It kind of soaks it up. 4-man team if it's not like 2 or 3 inches. Can take a few hits. Not as much as like the 8 with its 7-man crew or whatever it's got. But the box, so there you go. It's in the list.
Yeah.
Puma, still use it, and it's a good pickup. It's not as good as a Staghound. Slightly outclasses it, I think. I think it's the same points as a Hull machine gun, which just makes it was better, but cool because it's technically armor 8. It counts as a light tank.
Yep.
Purposes of tank shock. Crush people with a wield. Nice at 24 inches when you declare the run move and town. So then we got the Stu 42.
And you even knew which Stug to pick at this point in your career.
pretty advanced gaming going on back in 2022. The Stu is I think it's fantastic. So 190.
Yeah, definitely.
Medium panzer. Just a truck with a pintle to run.
Yeah, you used to take the pintle trucks. Yeah. Okay, so
I still take him. But you notice this one, tell I was a greenhorn because it's a 12-man transport capacity, and I've got 2 6-man
units going into
it. But I didn't leave room for
the leader
command team to help them get out once they get pins. So
yep. Well, I mean, this is like maximizing the minis that are in the box, right?
100%. So this is if someone were to go, I want to play a 1250 event, the box, a blister, and a truck.
Yeah.
To play.
I'm gonna challenge the comments to this video if you are watching this and you want a competitive 1250 point list that you build out of a box like this, you got to write a comment, and then we're going to put something together, and we'll do a Mike version 2 on this. This is obviously where he was when you started this thing. I think there's some improvements we could do. I don't think you need to do all that much, to be honest. What are our thoughts, guys?
Look, it's one of those things, like, it's a very Michael list. There's some stuff that I guess the meta players would tell you is non-competitive. I mean, blending, was it the submachine guns and the LMGs in infantry squads and stuff. And Michael gives pretty much everyone in the community a good run for their money, and occasionally dumpsters all of our best players consistently. So it's very Michael. Sorry, Michael. It's not a bad list as it is. You could shuffle around a light machine gun into another squad and then shuffle the submachine guns back into the other squad. You could drop the Opal Blitz for a couple of heavy field cars for the 6-man units.
Yep.
Like you can make those kinds of modifications to it, but it's actually just a solid 1250. Like let's just go have a bit of fun. List. The Pack 40 obviously is very much a taste thing. Again, Michael, you've had a stack of success running that, haven't you?
A little bit, and I know Matt Castles, he gets heaps of mileage out of his Pack 40s and his row ambush lists.
The one thing that I'd do to the list to make it whack and like one of my lists that would still sort of be running with the same sort of firepower that you have there is I'd drop the Pack 40 and I'd drop the Puma and I'd replace the Puma with a 234/4, which is essentially an open top Puma.
Yeah, that's a good call. It's a Pack 40 on a
it's a Pack 40 on an open top Puma. Just because it's no one does it. No one expects a sneaky reconnaissance heavy gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair call. And obviously then, like, it's not that much of a point swap. You could probably just trade the Pack 40 for, like, a Nebelwerfer.
Yeah.
Or a medium howitzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's heaps you can do to tweak it. We'll probably see next. It's just, this is, good example of what comes in the box, effectively.
Straight out of the box. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Terrible
That's a wicked list for what comes out of a box.
And I have a Puma.
Yeah, I haven't used the Puma in a while. I'm kind of keen to collect another one at some point. So let's shift on, Mike, because this is an extension of what we just had a look at, right? So this is the original list that we just talked about, and then what have we got here?
Do you have the other one I sent you? This one has.
Is this what we're after? Okay, cool, sweet.
Hang on.
Let me just.
So this one uses most of the minis from that. You've just got to pick up a few different bits here and there, but this does all of the later releases. So we'll jump into it. So this is 1,000 points single platoon. Is clearly the standard for an event. I think we've recently opened up theaters as part single generic platoon with. Got the second Louis, either the assault rifle or the SMG.
Yep.
With the rifle, but I think the assault rifle is the best choice here.
Yep.
The 22 squads of 10. See, these are the Here Grenadiers from Tough Gut. So these are experienced but with green. And you the Breda LMGs, which is the Italian, I believe, instead of the
German
E4.
Yep.
Don't come at me. I'm not a historical.
Yeah, a German machine
but they're
gun.
15 points. Right. Yeah. So they're 15 points, and you don't get buzz score. You can still get your 8 shots out of 2 on range. I just think they're a great option. So mix up a bit. We've got then 10 here Grenadiers, 3 assault rifles, 7 rifles regular. We'll with them. So yeah, that's basically merges the squads that you would have built for the last list, basically. So you've got a couple of MGs, assault rifles go there. One of the cool new units, Jake actually bought this up. I think it's valid. I'd like to try it. Fulsham Jaeger from Tough Gut again. This is the Casino and Anzio file. Veteran with 7. And for a point each, you give them the Ebon Heroes upgrade.
Yeah, so
means
what does
their
that do?
flamethrower gets a +1 to hit.
Oh, okay. I quite like
For
that.
6 points, I think it's pretty good. They get flamethrower for 20 points, and then they can each take a pistol for a point each, which then obviously makes them veteran, tough fighter, stubborns with a flamethrower.
Oh, that
116
hurts.
points. It's spicy, but it's a pretty. It's one of those units that can really reach the enemy, I guess.
Mhm. And the Os Legion.
Moving on. So these are from Case Blue. And I love these guys.
Mhm.
And this is why I know that the unit you were looking at, the Feldjäger, going generic reinforced, because these dudes would be in half.
Oh, yeah, they would be cool.
So they're inexperienced green,
Mhm.
but their green check has been modified. So instead of a 1 heaps of pins upgrade or 5/6 upgrade, it's 1 to 3
Yep.
down. Stay inexperienced, but they gain Shirker.
Mhm.
You roll a 4 to 6, they get straight up to regular with stubborn.
That's nice. That's pretty cool.
It's insane. So if you could take them with the Feldjäger or the Gendarmeries or whatever they're called, dogs,
Yeah.
you're just getting value.
Yeah,
Really
definitely.
nothing. 50-50. Unfortunately, you can't, but you can dream.
And then
Going down, medium mortar, regular spotter, exact same as the last list.
Mhm.
So this is next one is the G43 sniper team. So this is a funky one from Tough. I think Tough Guts, Soft Underbelly, one of those two.
Yep.
For 5 extra points, sniper, he has a G43. And the both have pistols, so they're tough fighters.
Mhm.
The sniper has fire and maneuver out of the American book,
Okay.
and also has a rule that on a so if he can fire his first shot, 4 up if he's veteran, he gets to fire a second time. Same unit.
Oh, okay.
Regular on a 5 up, he gets to fire again. This is where I think it's not the playing one. I don't think it's as crazy as people it out to be. People screaming and tearing down their walls, and it's going to be OP. It's crazy. Not that insane because you can't switch targets in between those shots.
Okay.
For my experience with them, you just roll like 3 threes in a row, and it's sequence ends anyway.
Mhm.
I just think they're a great choice, and you can literally use the 2 snipers. You literally use the 2 snipers you would have built from the box.
Yeah, nice.
This is where we get a bit funky. We swap up the pack 40 for a noble.
Yep.
Experienced. We've all seen this one done. It's a good choice.
Oh yeah.
Motorcycle MGs. You put the Puma back in the box.
Mhm.
Pick one of these up. 40 points. These things are annoying as anything.
Mm.
Just like drive around, put pins on things, recce. Just super annoying. Like Sean was saying, you want to play it like 10 inches, just so that you're well away from charging.
Mhm.
You're just always ready to put a pin on something, slip whatever down.
Nice.
42 is still in there because I think this list quite a lot of ranged firepower, but because you trade the slot for a multi-launcher,
Mhm.
it's always nice to stick a
Pull up
Harley
on the
back
outside.
in.
Yep.
If you weren't trying to use the contents of the collecting box, you could even go for a Westby.
Yeah.
Lastly, we've got the heavy field car, and what I would suggest here is almost identical in size. You could literally reuse your truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. About the same.
The difference in size from the models is like 3 millimeters.
Yeah.
Negligible.
Yep.
Obviously the Volkswagen jump in there. So for this, I worked out you would literally need to grab. If you're like me and you don't really care about uniforms,
Yeah.
apologize to all the historical players out there, especially you, Jackson.
Oi!
You can literally get a box of, I think the Pioneers, German Pioneers. There's 31 in a box.
Yep.
Adds an extra 9. And then you're ready. Basically, you're up to scratch with the new quote meta units. Better, I think, than the other 50 list. You've got more dice, more dice at less points, rather. I don't know.
Well, you've already answered kind of the question of where I led to earlier about 10 minutes ago, and obviously we've had some feedback on it as well from the rest of us. So I think these are some great starting points to be, in particular if you're looking at one box and just want a couple of add-ons. Cool. I'm just having another look, Mike. Have we got something else here?
So this is my skulls list.
Okay.
For those wondering what I like to play, as you can see, it's called the Outpost Good Times list. It was designed to come comfortably in the middle. I don't think it was a contender, but it was a lot of fun. Price 983, and there's a reason I'm 10 points shy. So we get the second LT.
Yep.
Just by himself. Next up, we've got his buddies. We've got Veteran Grenadiers. Said it at the start. Exact same loadout that you like, Jacob.
Yep, 4 dudes.
Assault rifles too fast. Scooting down here. So we'll jump over the IE Forward Observer.
Yep, we know what it is.
To the SS Cav. So I like to take 5 men on SMGs. On horses, skip the fanatics. So SMGs, I take them. They can't fire them on horseback, but you can dismount as part of an advance move.
Okay.
So the cavalry rule.
Yep.
It gives you a one-time each move to get into SMG range, and when you come in at someone with shots, come on the horse to kind of harry teams, or you can jump them off if you need to get them where they want to stick around behind cover, and they can punch up above the 84 point tag. With the latest FAQ, taking a squad of cavalry lets you do is mount your HQ a horse for 5 points per model.
Okay, all right. So
what I do with there we go. So what I do with the Arty Fort Observers, I actually started putting them on horses.
Okay.
138 points. Let's give them armed as equipped assault rifles.
Yep.
2 men assault rifles on horses, forward deploying. Still, Fort Observers. And you just use them to be super annoying. Sniper shot comes their way, they wreck you behind a building. Ignore them. You drop the Arty, then you run around the flank. There's a mortar team. It's 3 guys. You just go beat them up, or 10 inches away on an objective. You jump off the horse. You got 2 assault rifles. You spit out 4 shots. You just be super annoying with it.
That is fancy. That is cool.
Who would have thought that reconnaissance is annoying?
The main thing is it just gives you extra utility out of the unit that oftentimes in most games isn't going to do anything. So the fact that you can just throw it around as a little harassing tool is just amazing.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Into one of my first games, I think we charged a squad of 6 inexperienced, 4 on the charge, and there was like 3 left. Their attacks back because they're veteran, and it just took like a 7-8 man unit, Oh,
that's nuts.
2 guys on horses.
Yeah, I mean, I like to have these little squads doing work when they can, but yeah, they've got a lot of movement to cover to do anything meaningful. So that's really cheeky.
I went back to the S&G LNG mix squads, much to Jackson's disgust.
Oh yeah.
The idea was that they would kind of hold the point, the artillery locks things in place, to get close, and be multi-team experienced past them. Take it.
Yep.
The extra 5 points. Easy Army doesn't have the G43 profile, so I left an extra 5 points.
Yeah.
The sniper team G40.
So does the G43 have to be taken as a vet?
It comes in a regular profile at 55
Okay.
points, but
Yeah,
you get a
nice.
more reliable second shot.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Anti-tank rifle team, veteran, just so they stuck around. This list is very lean on, so like your rifle and Faust, I think. Howling Cow, inexperienced.
Barbed wire.
Russians spread out. I had 10 points spare, so I got a piece of barbed wire. A
Okay.
lot.
Cool.
Good fun. Actually thinking earlier when Sean was talking about the Schwimmwagen list, the 10-point barbed wire across the road, the Wield would shut that whole list down. So, you know.
The hard counter we needed.
Except, of course, there's 10 of them.
That is often only one road.
That's right. And then lastly, this list wouldn't be this list without the tugboat, the washer schlepper, 20-man transport,
60 points.
60 points. You stick 20 veterans in there, and the idea was you'd pin everything in place, and then the boat would charge forward, and glorious and beautiful.
It has
just
worked.
a big swim
Actually,
yes.
Yeah, you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, I've been tabled by you by this monstrosity. Yeah, very very nice when you equip it with outflank, especially if you roll well and predict well and know which flank that I'm going to be on. So I'm a fan, man. I want to try it out. It's freaking
rolling
cool.
well is very important.
I will say I don't know how Michael keeps it alive because it is huge.
Yeah.
And he always somehow manages to make it get to where it needs to go alive, which is just, I don't know how he consistently does it.
Look, it's so big and it looks armored, but it's not. I don't know. It's got the profile of like that's a tank. I can't deal with that with small arms, I guess. Got that mentality for sure. Cool, man. I mean, this has got some elements that I haven't even thought about or do want to try, but like a model limited and stuff. Like, how did you do your cav? Because I thought you were getting horses from elsewhere, right?
So I had the 5 squad.
Yeah.
You need one cavalry section to get the bonus from the FAQ. Not really bonus, but the FAQ section. So
sorry, I meant modeling wise. Like, are you sticking with
modeling? Yes. So I a bit crazy. I bought like 3 boxes of the the Perry Mini Civil War cavalry.
Yep.
I snipped the ears in half, stuck them on the legs basically, and then stuffed the smocks back in and the arms and more flagpole, and I don't know, seemed to make them look really cool.
So with the intention that you're going to actually use a lot more cavalry than you have in a list like this?
So I think at last count I've got 27 made.
Okay.
A historical.
This list is light on cavalry for Michael.
That's right. Well, now we got Case Blue. I'm for the Cossacks.
Perfect.
All hail campaign book Rohan.
All right.
All we need is the Invasion of America supplement, and I'll be happy.
So at this point in the night, we're getting towards the end. We've got some of Jake's lists, but I'm going to skip those for now, and we're going to go straight to Jackson because he's actually here. So sorry about that, Jake. We might get to them, but if you're welcome to do a follow-up episode with me because you did win your Skulls event, maybe it'd be more appropriate to talk about it there. So let's have a look at Jackson's. So we're going to start with the CanCon list, mate. So run us through.
Yeah, so this is the list I took to CanCon this year, and I'm Denarden. It's my best painted army. So that was kind of the deciding factor. And I also decided that I wanted to go for a themey list. So I've been running pocket defenders for practically since Fortress Budapest came out. And so I wanted to put that on the table. It's also very much a very generic, like utility, a little bit of everything kind of list, which is very much what I like. It's also got an absolute horde of infantry. So the regular German first LT with the assault rifles and one guy, it's a pretty no-brainer. It's not uncommon in WA for us to be using that, just because the extra versatility you get from having a first lieutenant over a second with the extra snap too, actually can be quite useful. And it's something I use a lot of, and having played lists recently that don't have that, I miss it. So use that, and obviously for the selector, because it's the pocket defender selector, it needs to have a German officer to include German units. From there, there's two 13-man inexperienced replacement Honved division sections. I'm a big fan of massed inexperienced green infantry. Obviously, in the CanCon format, the LMG on a full-strength squad is free. Normally I'd actually run these as 10-man squads with a 1 Panzerfaust, so like a 75-point screening unit. And they're great for holding ground. They're great for it's just amazing how often they upgrade. So they're great as like a ad hoc push unit if they upgrade. And then obviously just general skirmishing and, as I said before, screening, hiding stuff behind it. Then the 8-man experienced Honved division section. So that's just an 8-man reg squad with 2 Panzerfausts and 3 submachine guns. It's a skirmishing squad. The idea behind that is it gets thrown in behind the 2 experienced division squads. That's like a 3-man unit or team to push forward with. And the idea is that the 2 inexperienced squads really just screen it for the regular squad to arrive at my opponent's front lines and hopefully cause a little bit of damage, grab an objective, anything like that. Oftentimes in my lists, I don't have the points for the submachine guns on that squad. So there might be a light machine gun. There might be, if I'm running it in a different list, it might be a squad of engineers, Hungarian engineers with motivated elites, so they lose D2 pins. But yeah, the 8-man squad's kind of one of my go-to units. Inexperienced medium machine gun team. Something I love. It was only made better at CanCon because they had the Juggernaut auto pin, and then you pin an additional pin if you hit. And at inexperienced, it's cheap. It's very easy to throw it down as a like a chaff dice in deployment. And it does a surprising amount of suppression because with 6 shots, because Hungarian MMGs get the Hungarian the 6th shot, they consistently hit stuff, even inexperienced. Nimrod, if no one has talked about the heavy autocannon cult that we've got going on in WA, then I'll be very disappointed because nothing beats the heavy autocannon. Just so useful, so versatile, and could with 2 shots consistently hit stuff. And at 90 points, it's really good and cheap. The German equivalent's slightly better because you pay another 5 points on top of that. I think it's the SDKFZ 7-2 with the armoured cab. And for 95 points, you get half-tracked, so you get extra turns and pivots. Inexperienced Nobelwerfer. Now, with this selector, you can, obviously, as I was said before, I think so, is you can blend Axis, Hungarian and German units. But you also get D3 hardcover linear emplacements. So you always get one. And really what the Nobelwerfer is in there for is to sit behind a hardcover emplacement somewhere really awkward. Often somewhere like wide open in the open where your opponent didn't think you were going to deploy it. And fail their deployment for the first couple of turns. And with the hardcover, it's really hard to kill. Panzerrem, so that's the Hungarian bazooka. Again, that's just in there for an extra layer of versatility and because I had space to fill in the list with slots. Veteran German sniper. What more can you say? It's a good unit for just trying to get a couple of kills early suppressing a few things early. You kind of work on the assumption that it's going to last 2, maybe 3 turns, and try and get as much damage and pins out of it as possible. Obviously, in a generic platoon, the G43 is a thing from Tough Gut. As Michael said, odds are that you're just doing a lot of extra administrative dice rolling and not getting any extra hits if you just roll nothing but 3s. But obviously, in that case, the G43 probably is about 5 to 10 points underpointed just because it has potential to spike a lot better than a normal sniper does. But yeah, in this case, just a general veteran sniper, hard to kill, throw out a couple of pins early game, and then take it from there. 2 heavy field cars. I love the trucks, especially in a German list though. Heavy field cars are just cheap.
Yeah.
So if you're running, and I know you're a big fan of them, Jacob, if you're running a cheap throwaway push unit, why spend the extra 12 points on a truck when you can just toss it in a heavy field car?
Yep.
8-man here Grenadier squad with 4 assault rifles. These were modelled as SS, like the 8th SS in Budapest. And again, they're another skirmishing unit. The reason they're the squad with the assault rifles is because it gives them a little bit more reach. I'd normally be a big fan of just putting submachine guns on them. But obviously, if they're skirmishing on their own or in support of one of the inexperienced squads, that extra bit of reach goes a long way. And then 6-man here squad with 3 submachine guns and 2 Panzerfausts. Again, that's just going to drop in a field car and be annoying. And then the 6-man here assault pioneer squad with 3 submachine guns and a flamethrower. Same drill. Didn't want to go for double flamethrowers. That probably would have been the more optimal choice. But obviously, themey list, flamethrowers weren't everywhere in World War II. And then I think the only other thing in the list was the mace thrower.
Is that the Bogdanov rocket launcher?
Yeah, the Buzikanaveto.
Yeah, that's
probably mangled that.
Yeah, sure.
That's very much I like the miniature. It's weird. It's wacky.
Okay.
It's 2 massive rockets mounted on a Maxim machine gun chassis.
That is cool.
A medium howitzer would do the same job better and cheaper. It's also though lots of fun to put a hole in the front of a Comet or a Pershing or a King Tiger with that. Because it can fire 2 shots or 2 consecutive shots of either +7 AET shape charge, so it doesn't drop range over half, or it can fire 2 3-inch templates, one on one turn and then one on the second. Obviously, you have to fire the 2 shots consecutively on consecutive turns, so you can't just chop and change between the 2 as needed. So it makes it a bit clumsy to use. Because you do occasionally find yourself caught out, and you do find yourself basically just loading HE always, unless something really obvious is going to happen with a big tank. So yeah, that's a theme choice. But I think one of the things, because it's my second artillery slot, and that's from the Hungarian national rules, which is access support, obviously. People spend a lot of time talking about access support for Romanians or Bulgarians, Hungarians. And they always talk about slotting in an extra tank, or an extra vehicle of some kind. And they're usually talking about something that's sort of well over 140, 150 points. I am not a fan of that if you're going to be competitive. If you're going to be competitive, drop in an extra arty slot because it's cheap. And people don't talk about that, but it's a cheap, high reward. In this case, I used it to grab a multi-launcher. And in a competitive list, I'd run a multi-launcher and a medium howitzer. Because you get a huge amount of bang for buck from that. You get return on investment. You mess with people's deployments in ways that tanks just don't. And on top of that, you have another squad that you wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. And it is technically semi-themey with Hungarians because the Hungarian artillery in World War II, at least according to the Germans in the mid-war, was apparently very accurate. So yeah, that's my justification for shoving an extra howitzer in every chance I can get. Obviously, you don't get that now with the case blue rules if you're using those. That changes how Hungarians and the other minor nations play quite significantly. But if you do get that option to have that free slot to just toss into a list, think about what the cheapest, most bang for buck unit can be, and it's probably going to be something in an artillery slot.
That is a really good point. I mean,
as far as pardon?
I was just going to say it's a very good point because, like, the obvious go-to would be what can I fit in here that Hungarians couldn't typically take, and then you'd be looking at your medium tanks and whatever else. So better to just sit and think about that just a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's the other thing though, like having talked about, that I'm assuming you probably chatted earlier before I came on about not over investing in squads of infantry. My big experience from playing this is that at CanCon is that when you really need it to, 3 or 4 submachine guns or assault rifles in a squad, so assault weapons in general, just do not consistently wipe a unit or break a unit to the point that you don't have to worry about it next turn hitting you back just as hard. I had a lot of games where it had come down to one last push with an intact unit. I'd throw my unit forward and go, I need 4 kills to make that unit ineffective and not be able to hit me back just as hard. I'd throw forward my 6 or 7 man squad of assault troops with their 3 submachine guns or 3 assault rifles. And you'd get 2 kills, 3 kills, which is mathematically what you should be getting. And it just wouldn't be quite enough, and you'd get high and dry and then hoping that your opponent's hit back wasn't as good. So I guess what I'm saying there is don't overinvest, but just recognize sometimes because you're not overinvesting, you're going to have to apply a lot more force from 2 units rather than 1 to get a consistent return on that. And again, I think that's part of the skill of playing Germans in particular, but Axis in general, well. Because if you're economizing on what you're throwing forward, you need to recognize, or what you throw forward in terms of how you build your list. You need to recognize that you're going to need to compensate and perhaps overkill of 2 of your economy hitting units.
So let's have a thought on that just right now, because you're saying small arms in a unit, a kill squad, potentially 3 or 4, isn't the right magic number to potentially do the killing blow, but then going any higher than that is an overinvestment. Yeah,
I guess so. I love 3 or 4, and that's what I generally run. But it means that there are times that it will not consistently do the damage you need it to do. And that means that you need to overinvest at times with 2 squads rather than 1. And a canny opponent can obviously stop that from happening. So I think 3 or 4 assault weapons in a squad in a pushing unit in a German list, for example, is the right way to go. But I guess what I'm saying is when new players especially are trying to do that for the first time, just be really wary that sometimes that push through is just not going to cut it that first time. You're going to have to throw something else in.
I think over time, like, I have very similar squads to these as my core, and I don't expect them to be transported in and be able to wipe out the squad in 1 round of shooting.
Absolutely.
I particularly think that one of these would potentially whittle down a squad that it's its target within 2 turns rather than 1 if they're unsupported.
Absolutely. And it's just one of those things, like it's just something that that newer players need to be really aware of because they're great, but you need to play them well. And I guess in the context of CanCon, where I was using them, I learned a lot of things I could have improved on. There was a couple of times I got caught out and had to use one unit to push something and had to rely on one unit to punch a little bit above its weight. But mathematically, most of the time, what is it? You're probably needing 2s or 3s to hit off, say, 3 submachine guns or 4 submachine guns. So that's 8 shots. You're probably looking at 6 hits, 5 to 6 hits. You're probably looking at 2 to 3 kills. If you're going into lists that are running predominantly 8-man squads, which is quite common with regs, and I'm assuming I'm working on the assumption on kills there that you're targeting a regular unit.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you want that 4 kills to try and shatter the unit, force a morale check, and also don't strip any counter punch out of them.
Yep.
And obviously, if your mathematical average is 3 or 3 and a bit, you're not always going to get that.
And how did you go for CanCon overall?
So I set myself the goal of top of the middle. I'd originally gone with being competitive, and then I'd written a list and gone, well, I really want to play this list.
Yep.
So then I set myself a goal of top of the middle. I'll go on record saying I'm going back to CanCon this year, and I want to be better than that. Mm-hmm. So more than top of the middle. But like this year, I went top of the middle. There were 62 players. I came 21st.
Fantastic. Do you remember? So how many rounds?
Yeah, exactly where I wanted to be.
How many rounds?
6.
So 3 each day, or
yeah, 3 each day.
Yeah, 3 each day. Cool.
And again, a lot of those games came down to a handful of dice rolls. So it was a really great experience, and I had a lot of tight games.
Very cool. Let's move on to your last list, Jackson. It's getting a little bit late. Let's have a look. We got 1,000 points for casuals. So run us through the differences here as against CanCon.
Okay, so this is very much the kind of list I'd throw forward when I'm having fun. My Hungarians are my favourite Axis army. I have Finns and I have Germans, but at the end of the day, I love the Honved. So with that, at core first lieutenant with 1 man, this list actually as a whole works reasonably well, whether it's tough at using the case blue rules or the Axis and the Allies rules. So first lieutenant, snap 2 if you're running the case blue rules, otherwise keeps the inexperienced troops moving if you're running the Axis and the Allies rules. This, as I said before, your 13-man squads are going to be used as more as a screen.
Yep.
Obviously, you're relying on them to do a lot more in this list because there is less other stuff in there. It's 1,000 points. But given they're 13 men, they're often fairly hard to kill. Nimrod, can't go wrong with a Nimrod. It's just, it's awesome. Obviously, if you're using the case blue rules, you're going to have to swap that for Saba using the armored car slot rather than the second tank slot.
Yep.
And then obviously Axis support for a Allies and the Axis rules is the Hetzer. You'd run that in your normal tank slot if you're running the case blue rules. And the Hetzer, I find, is amazing.
Yeah.
It's got a 2-inch template. It's basically a budget Stug. A Stug 4 or Stug 3, like the actual anti-tank one. It's smaller. It's
tiny.
Cheaper because it's got the thin sides.
Yeah.
It's so low to the ground. It's still got the big gun and it's still got the machine gun. It gets even better in the case blue rules where you can dump recce on it.
Oh, I like that.
Hungarian tank platoons run triple Hetzers. You'll cause some issues with recce.
I'm going to pause
everyone
you
talks
here.
about the recce Tiger, but I think the recce Hetzer is better.
I'm going to pause you here, Jackson. 10 points on a tank. It seems unexpected for you. I know all the benefits with the Hetzer.
I love big tanks. I don't play them at tournaments often. I'm occasionally run a Panther or something. They're just so expensive, especially for the return on investment. There aren't many tanks that are good return on investment, and most of them are cheaper than this. Most of them are around that 150 point mark or 100 point mark. I mean, the Nimrod's probably a classic example of that. In saying that, my Hetzer has never done me wrong. It's lots of fun, and if I'm playing a casual game, I want to throw that on the table, especially if I can put Recce on it. Obviously, if you're using the case blue rules, as I said, the Nimrod would be a Kasaba. That's just going to be a armor 7 armored car with a coax MMG, which you're mostly going to use, and then the AT rifle. You're just going to use that to skirmish around and pick off small teams and expose stuff. Inexperienced medium machine gun team, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They're good for what they are. As a cheap distraction, as a way to throw out pins, as a cheap dice. They're not optimal, but they're fun. Medium howitzer with spotter, medium mortar with spotter. Howitzer's a no-brainer. The mortar, I know people talk about running inexperienced mortars. They're good. They're very point efficient. If you've got the right list, your opponent isn't focusing on them, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I have just played lots of games over the years where having, especially if you're running multiple mortars, having a spotter on it makes it so much easier to stop the game from snowballing when my opponent has no other things to focus on.
Yep.
And also it gives me the option to just hide my entire army and rain down, Hellfire and Brimstone with the spotter. As I said before, 8-man Honved Division regular squad, 4 submachine guns, 2 Panzerfausts. So this is a bit more of an upgrade on what I was talking about before. Again, the 4th submachine gun is just great for just getting that little bit more consistency in a push unit. And obviously that's going to be operating behind the screening units. The screening units are going to be used to push forward, take some fire so that the regulars get through. Regular sniper, again, not at the points for vets. Also, there's nothing else veteran in the list, so just easier to just keep it regular. And again, there to pick up some dice, probably die by turn 3. Truck, that's obviously what you can throw the Honved Division squad with the submachine guns in.
Yep.
If you want to. I do use my truck occasionally to pull a howitzer into position if I want a enfilading fire across the side of a board. But yeah, it's the Honved Division. If I choose to not skirmish it behind squads, which is generally reasonably common, the experienced Honved Division squad will go in that, or a squad of assault engineers. And then inexperienced 8-man arrow cross fascist party. So they're inexperienced and they're shirkers, but they're fanatical in defense. So when a squad assaults them, they count as fanatics. So it's a fluky rule that doesn't come up very much. It's the perfect hard counter rule if your community has a love of Japanese bamboo spear fighters, because you can just about watch them cry when they run into that.
Who's this targeted
because they're assaulting you, they can't do anything about it, and you're fanatics as well.
Who's that targeted at?
Russ.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. When your opponent has nothing that they can do but assault you, and you just put a wall of those in front of them and go, "Yep, come at me." It provides quite an interesting game. But yeah, they're a cheap objective holding squad. If you can keep the pins off them, keep them for the late game, and keep it to a close game, then late game you can push them up when they haven't got any pins on them, and throw some rifle shots downwind, downrange, and hope that they throw a pin around or 2. But otherwise, they're just going to be an annoyance unit. And that's 12 dice at 1,000 points. You can use it as either the case blue rules or the Axis and the Allies rules. It's the kind of thing I enjoy throwing around when I have a bit of fun, a bit of free time, and I'm not prepping for a tournament. Anyone got any ideas of how to, or anything that they would like to tweak in either of those lists?
I mean,
just
go ahead, Sean.
You go. I was just going to make a comment for Luke's benefit. I just wanted to let him know that just be aware of Jackson's stance on heavy tanks. There, I thought it was.
I was going to say we brushed past it, but The hell, man! Like, no, return on investment? Yeah, no, there is no. You haha funny tank and then win. That's all there is.
But do you win when you sell your soul to the heavy tank meta? Is that really a victory when you've sold your soul and everything else for that?
It's okay. It's okay. The new meta is all about Schwimmwagons.
Yeah, I'm totally sold, mate.
The counter to that is Nimrods, and I'm going to keep saying it. Heavy autocannon meta, that is the way.
Yeah. And at that point,
try that against 100 millimeters of armor, rolled homogeneous German steel armor.
Heavy autocannons are the way, or light autocannons if you're using the case blue rules.
Yeah, we've got a very disappointed Luke.
We always have a disappointed Luke.
Like 38 shell is what I say. Or 128 millimeter if you're going with the spicy mouse.
Oh yeah,
that's okay. Luke knew he knew he was going to get attacked as soon as he came tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He gets attacked even if he doesn't come tonight. You should see the group chats we're in.
So yeah, I thank you everybody for sticking through with us. We've gone through quite a few lists. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. So hopefully this gave you some insight to the Perth meta for bolt action, and particularly for Axis, and some ideas on how to actually play Germany. I mean, we've got a large variety of different things. We got some whack in here. We got some regular lists. We've also got some top tier stuff from Jackson right now. There is more that we have, but we probably don't have time for it tonight. So what I will do is I'm going to promise to you, Jake, right now on the cast as well, that we'll do a follow-up video, particularly with you, on your winnings for skulls that just came up, to give us some more insight on Axis. Please let us know in the comments all the lists that you've seen, if you have any kind of variations on them, if you agree, disagree with points, whatever else. If you team Jackson or team heavy tank, that's fine. We've got to know. And yeah, if you enjoy this kind of content, in particular people who are in Perth as well, we've gone ahead and done the baddies. If you guys do like this kind of thing and are keen to flip it over and do allies, do let us know, and then we'll make that happen. But yeah, for tonight, I just want to thank all the guests for joining. So stage center now is Luke. And then stage right, we had Jackson join the show. So just say goodnight to us, Jackson, so people know face to name, voice to name, all that kind of stuff. If you can.
Yep. See you around, guys.
Perfect. Down at the bottom, the little pickle, that's Mike. So thanks for joining us, Mike. And Warwick. What is it?
For having me.
Warwick Wicket down at the bottom right is Sean, who's the fan of all things recon. All things recon. Swims do sound really cool.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night. Thanks for joining, and appreciate all the guests for joining last minute and all that. So love to see you for the next one. Let us know what you want to see. This is HMG. See you later.